Yes. Okay, welcome to 4 steps to loving your job, enriching your career, and nailing your personal and professional goals. I am your host, Kim Sealing-Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Ignite Global. I'll tell you a little bit about my background, but I really wanted to start with some thought-provoking statistics and thought-provoking ideas. Did you know that most people spend more time planning a vacation or a holiday than their own career? It's absolutely true. I have seen so many people simply go through doors that are open to them. They need a job, they go find a job. They need another job, they go find another job without realizing that sometimes those doors can actually lead them to a plateau or worse, to a dead end. And that's absolutely something that I am committed to helping you guard against. Now, when we were having our little pre-conversation session this morning, I asked where people were dialing in from, which was all over the world, and what they were looking for. And there were several people who had said that they were looking for ideas to help keep them from hitting that plateau or to make sure that their careers are on track, which is so important. I've worked with so many people helping them achieve their career goals. And I know that it's so easy if you don't proactively take control of your career to get stuck and to find yourself on that plateau or in that dead end. And that can cost you. Not only can that cost you personally, but that can cost you and your family, your hopes, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions. And I want to help you guard against that. Simply going through open doors can cost you your dreams, and I want to make sure that you're able to achieve your dreams. Did you know that most people expect their direct manager to have their career interests in mind? And yet, only about 37% of employees have have had career development conversations with their manager. Not only their current manager, but any manager. It is unbelievable. That is a statistic by Right Management, an international outplacement firm. So now I want to hear from you. When was the last time you talked to your manager about your career? When was the last time you had a career development conversation? There are a couple of questions that I want to, as you are typing into the questions box, the answers, there are a couple of questions that I want to address here. There is a call-in number. It should be on your email. It depends on what country you're from. Okay, so, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the questions box. I will get to them as I can, but I'm going to save the questions until the very end. But I will be looking at the questions as we go. Oh, excellent. Okay, so we've got never. Oh, Matt, hello, welcome. Twice a year, 2 years ago. Very specific, on October 16th, 2 months ago, last week. Right. Okay. Excellent. All right. And it's mandatory in somebody's work. Okay. Never don't feel comfortable telling managers what you want. Yes, that is a problem. Okay. As we know, the days of the gold watch are gone. Your career is a DIY project, and you are responsible for driving your career. And this is what I want to help you do in this webinar. I want to help you take control, and I want to help you make sure that you do what you need to do to manage your career appropriately so that you don't have that situation where you hit that plateau or you hit that dead end. Did you know that most people have never had any training, any formal training on how to manage their career? And it's so very important. And even if they have had their formal training in career management, sometimes we're taught things that just don't serve us in our career. And again, this is what I want to help you do today. I want to help you take control. So before we get started, I want to share some best practices with you, some things that will help you make the most of our time together. Now, I don't take lightly the fact that you have taken an hour, hour and a half out of your day to spend time with me. And I want you to make sure that it's as valuable as possible. So turn off anything else in the background, email, Skype, Facebook, anything that you've got running. Silence your phone, close your door, and give yourself time and permission to concentrate on you. All right. And if you haven't already done so, print out your workbook. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, I've tried other career management programs, or I've looked at taking control of my career, but I just don't know where to start. Is this framework actually going to help? Well, I can put my hand on my heart, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background here in a second, but I can put my hand on my heart and say, absolutely, this framework will help you if you fall into a category of just a few people. First of all, if you are in the right place, if you've loved your job once, but now you feel maybe bored or frustrated, or you might not know what to do next, or you might be afraid to make a move because you need this job. And it's fairly uncertain times out there, folks. No matter what country you live in, there's a lot of uncertainty. You are in the right place. If possibly your priorities have changed, maybe you have gotten married and started to have children, and or maybe you're at the other end of the continuum and you're taking care of older parents, and you want to make sure that your professional demands don't interfere with your personal goals. You're in the right place if you've done really well in your career, and if so, congratulations. You've done really well in your career, but now you are feeling like you might get stuck or you're unsure about your next step. You're in the right place if you've always had a secret desire to start your own business, but you're not sure that you have the confidence to do it yet, or that you have what it takes. I seem to specialize in people who are asking themselves that question, and I'm not sure if that's because that's part of my own journey. Obviously, I have my own business, or if it's something that people are just attracted to when they go through career development webinars. So what I want to one of the first points that I want to really impart in you is, regardless of where you are in your career and regardless of how you might feel about your career, remember, the smallest things often make the biggest difference. And I say that because, in fact, this is a bonus that I've got for you for sticking to the end of this webinar. I'm going to give you a bonus just for being on this webinar, just for making it, taking the journey with me to the very end. Somebody, before the webinar started, we talked about why you were on here. And one of the women said, because I want to fall in love with my job again. Regardless of where you are now in your job, I promise you, you can fall in love with your job again. Or if not love, at least like with your job again. And that is so important to get yourself into an emotionally neutral state of mind. So the bonus for being on this webinar is an exercise that I've created called Fall in Love with Your Job Again. And let me tell you about how I created this exercise. I want to tell you the story of Jane. Jane is a woman who I worked with, a few years ago, actually, when I first started this business, Ignite Global. Now, when I started this business in 2009, I did a lot of public speaking, specifically on career development. Now, I don't do a lot in the area of career development anymore. Many of you, or some of you on this webinar, know me from the work that I do in employee engagement and retention. But when I started Ignite Global, it was all about career development. And I was speaking to an audience actually in Hobart, Tasmania, in Australia. And a gentleman came up to me. It was a group of CPAs, and a gentleman came up to me and said, Kim, can you help my wife, Jane? Jane has been a paralegal, and she's been in her company, working for her company for oh gosh, for 20, she's been in the industry for 26 years and working in her company for 17 years. She's worked for the same manager for 17 years, but a year ago, she started getting so stressed out that she decided that it was time to not only change jobs, but she actually wants to hire a career coach, something that's not a cheap thing to do, let me tell you. But she wanted to hire a one-on-one career coach to help her transition into not only another job, but another career. Now, I have to say that Jane was one of my first clients that came to me to transition into a different career, but certainly not my last. And this is one of the reasons that I created this exercise, because so many times when you think that this is the right answer for you, it's actually not. You actually don't need to transition into a different career. All you need to do is look at what's changed. And I discovered this working with Jane. I started asking Jane because to me, it didn't make any sense. Jane, why in the world would you go from being in an industry where you were doing well, where you loved, working for a manager that you really liked, to being so stressed out about your job that you started having migraine headaches, to the point where she was going to see doctors and the doctors were giving her medication that just wasn't working? So when I started asking her those questions, I really got very granular on the questions that I was asking, to the point where I said, okay, tell me about what changed in the last year. And she said, well, the only thing that did change is my office environment. The work has changed. The work has stayed the same. The company has stayed the same. The manager has stayed the same. But my office moved from one building to a next. And I said, okay, there's something in here. So I asked her some very specific questions about even down to what her desk was like. And she said, well, the only thing that really bothers me about where I sit now is the fact that I'm under a very bright light. In fact, so many days I have to actually wear a ball cap to work because the light is so harsh. And I went, bright light, optic nerve. Could it be that that's what's causing her the stress and causing her the migraine headaches? Well, I asked her if she could change desks. Sure enough, she could. So she moved desks. She did that and one other thing. And I kid you not, she paid for 10 sessions of career coaching, which is that's usually what it takes. When I used to do career coaching, that's usually what it takes to transition somebody from one career to another. I refunded her 9 of those sessions because we solved the problem in one go. We solved the problem by figuring out that there were 2 issues that were causing her stress. One in particular were giving her migraine headaches. That's where her desk was sitting. And the other one was that when in her old office, she was sitting next to her manager and she got a chance to interact with him all the time. In her new office, he was on a different floor. So we changed desks and we scheduled one 15-minute a week meeting with her manager that gave her the interaction with him that she so desired, that she so missed. And after 3 years, she never had another migraine headache again. I didn't work with her anymore, but I talked to her every 6 months for 3 years just to make sure that the solution that we came up with stuck, and it did. She said after changing desks and scheduling the weekly meeting with my manager, she realized that she did fall in love with her job again. She didn't need to change industries, change roles, change companies. All she needed to do is change desks. I promise you, the smallest things definitely make the biggest difference. So here's what we're going to learn today: how to avoid making the wrong decision from a place of anger, frustration, or fear. Why you've been asking yourself the wrong question when thinking about your career, and the 3 most important things to consider when planning the next 3 to 5 years. Why it's important to consider all of your options, even the ones you don't see or are afraid to look at. And my number 1 marketing tip for those of you actively looking for a new job: I'm going to give you a marketing tip that will cut through the noise and give you an unfair advantage to help you stand out amongst your peers. And as a bonus, I'm going to share a Jedi mindset trick to help you stay positive and focused. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I developed this framework. The way that I developed this framework was by actually working with over 5,000 people, first as an international recruiter. Now, I became obsessed with the difference when I was a recruiter. I started recruiting in 1994. Now, that's not how I started my professional life. I'll actually share a dirty little secret with you in a minute. But I started working as a professional recruiter when I finally realized that I was in the wrong job myself. And I became obsessed with the difference between people who successfully managed their careers and those who didn't. I became obsessed with why some people were able to achieve their professional and their personal goals while other people failed. And so I wanted to take that knowledge that I had gained from working with and eventually helping those 5,000 people successfully manage their careers and land the jobs that they wanted. And I wanted to help them individually, specifically with their career. So I became a professional career coach. I started my business Ignite Global in 2009. And the first 2 years, I worked with individuals on career coaching. But again, I'll share a dirty little secret with you. That's not how I actually started my career. I started my career as an accountant. This is me in 1981, I believe it is, as you can tell by the 1980s perm and the brown hair. I am not a naturally blonde, but I did discover a few years ago that blondes indeed do have more fun. Now, at 19 years old, I found myself working in the Hermitage Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. And apparently I was doing rather well because my general manager, Dennis Morgan, thought he saw something in me. And so he put me into an informal manager and training program. And that manager and training program was really interesting. The very first place that he put me was the accounting department. And his philosophy was that all of the different departments come together in accounting. And so he put me in accounting. It was only supposed to be for 6 months. And then as things happen in the hotel industry, he ended up getting transferred. Well, my 19-year-old self didn't actually hear, we think that you'd make a good hotel manager, therefore I'm going to put you in accounting temporarily. My 19-year-old self heard, we think you'd make a good accountant. So off I went to university. I graduated with a double major in accounting and computer science from The Ohio State University. And I got a job at KPMG, a coveted job with one of the big four accounting firms. And I was absolutely miserable. So I thought, okay, this job isn't working out. So I got a job in industry with an insurance group. Well, that was okay. But again, that didn't work out. And so I thought, gosh, what is it? What's the common denominator? It's not the job. It's not the company that I work for. It's not the boss that I have, the manager that I work with. Oh, the common denominator in all of these roles that aren't working out has to be me. Now, I was lucky. I fell into recruitment. I wandered into a recruiter's office and I asked for help. And that was the luckiest, most serendipitous experience of my professional career because they recruited me to become a recruiter. And I started recruiting in 1994. That led me to live overseas. I moved from Dallas, Texas, where I had moved with KPMG, to Auckland, New Zealand, to Sydney, Australia. And when I was working with the people that I was working with in recruitment, that's when I became obsessed with how to help people better manage their careers because so many people came to me and just didn't love their work. So I started Ignite Global. I spent 2 years just working in the career development space. And then I became a consultant and a trainer helping companies hire, inspire, and retain top talent. But every once in a while, I love to get back to my roots and I love to help people with career management. And that's what I'm doing today. Now, I've had several articles in print specifically on career management in the United States, in Australia, and in New Zealand. I've written a couple of books, Mind Reading for Managers, 5 Focused Conversations for Greater Employee Engagement and Productivity. A couple of you on this webinar have read that. And I've co-written, I was really, really lucky to work with Brian Tracy, the mega author and personal development guru on 101 great ways to enhance your career. So I want to help you avoid the common mistakes that I have seen so many times in people managing their careers by just going through that series of open doors. I want to help you love your work, find your passion, and truly live up to your potential. So I'm glad to say that we've actually already covered how to avoid making the wrong decision from a place of anger, frustration, or fear. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is to get yourself into that emotionally neutral state. Not to run from something, but to run to something. So again, I'm going to have you type in the chat box, why did you leave your last job? Did you run from that job? Or were you running to a job that really excited you? So go ahead and type in the chat box. Did you run from that job or to the job, to the next job that you knew was going to excite you? From, yes, both. Interesting. Good. Excellent. We've got 1, 2, one that excited. Yes. Run from, run from, run from, run from, run to. Run from as fast as I could. Fear, yes. Oh, interesting, interesting. Yes, yes, excellent. Okay, so as predicted, we've got a mixture of both, but highly, highly, highly leveraged to ran from the job that you, and this is what we do as human beings. We're human beings are really change averse. We can only handle so much change. So typically we will run from something that's causing us pain instead of to something that will give us pleasure. What I want to help you do is I want to help you stop running from an old job, especially if that means that you are going to think about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, like so many people that I work with, like my client Jane in Hobart, who wanted to change jobs, change industries, change careers. Now, she obviously decided that she didn't need to do that, and most people don't. I'll tell you a story about Evelyn in a few minutes, who came to me. She was an IT project manager, and she came to me because she wanted to retrain to be a chef. Many of us want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, as you'll see in a few minutes, that doesn't mean that you don't want to look at those options. You absolutely do. But before you do, you want to get into an emotionally neutral state to help you make those smart decisions so you can, instead of running from the old job, run from your new job. And that, ladies and gentlemen, can be accomplished through the Fall in Love with Your Job Again exercise, which is why I am offering it as a bonus for being on this webinar. I can't tell you how many people have gone through this exercise and have, if not fallen in love, at least fallen in like with the job, doing simple things like buying a new chair, rearranging their desk, moving closer to light, as we saw with Jane's case, getting away from the light. So I'm really happy to share this with you. Okay, so let's go on to point number 2. Why you've been asking yourself the wrong question when thinking about your career, and the 3 most important things to consider when planning the next 3 to 5 years. So, how do you plan your holiday? How do you plan a vacation? Go ahead and type in the chat box, what is the first question that you ask yourself when you decide to go on holiday or go on vacation? What's the first question that you ask yourself? How much money I have? Yeah, where are we going? Somebody typed, how much money do I have? Where are we going? Which country? What do we want to do when we get there? Where do we go? Where do we go? Yes, you guys know the answer to this, right? What kind of holiday do we want to have? You guys know the answer to this. Why then do we ask ourselves exactly the wrong question, the opposite question, when it comes to planning our career? We don't think about where we're going in our career. We think about what vehicle we want to use first. That would be like planning a vacation or planning a holiday and saying, do I want to fly? Do I want to drive? Maybe I'll take a train. We're taught in school to ask ourselves, figuratively speaking, do I want to be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker? For me, it was, do I want to be an accountant or do I want to be a software programmer? Well, it was neither, actually. Like so many people, I started my career trusting the judgment of somebody or following the judgment, following the misunderstood advice of somebody that I trusted and respected. And so many of us do this. Now, I want to turn this on its head. And this is the number one distinction that I would say makes the most difference between people who successfully manage their careers and are able to achieve their personal and professional goals and those that don't. And that is to start with the destination. Just like you're planning a holiday or a vacation, start with the destination in mind. Where do you want to go? Now, there are three things that encompass the destination, three things that go into forming the destination in your career. The first is your personal goals. What are your personal goals? Not professional goals, personal goals. The second is what I call your job or career values. What do you value in your job, in your career? And the third are your strengths. What strengths do you bring to the table? And I'm going to give you a very different and very unique definition of the word strengths. And if you've been with me before, you probably remember this, but it's a little bit different than what you're used to thinking about strengths. So write this down because this is key. Your destination, and it's question 5 in your workbook. So you should be following along in your workbook, but write this down on question 5. The destination consists of 3 things: personal goals, job or career values, and strengths. Now let's talk a little bit about each one of these things. First of all, personal goals. I want to share a story with you of one of my other very first career development clients when I started Ignite Global back in 2009. Remember, the economy wasn't so great at the time. So I was doing a lot of job search coaching as well as career coaching. And a woman came to me, her name was Evelyn, and is Evelyn, still is Evelyn. And she was living in London at the time. She was working for a financial services company as an IT project manager. And she decided that she wanted to move home to Melbourne. And the reason that she wanted to move home is because she was at the time 32 years old, and she had never been married, never had children, and wanted to move closer to family to get married and have kids. Now, when she decided to move, the company that she worked for was an international company and happily gave her a transfer to the Melbourne office. Now, something funny happened because she was doing the same job. She was just in a different team, but she hated it. So she went again from loving her job to hating her job and decided that she was going to pursue a secret passion, a secret desire to become a chef. So she hired a career coach, me, paid me 10 sessions, and we actually did go through the 10 sessions with Evelyn, even though she didn't probably need to. As you'll see in a moment, they were really, really beneficial for her. So we went through a 10-session career coaching series, and guess what? When I started drilling down on her personal goals, I found out very quickly that the reason that she moved to Melbourne was to have kids and get married. Preferably in the reverse order, get married and have kids. I guess that makes me sound old-fashioned, though, in these days, doesn't it? Now, do you guys know any chefs? Do chefs work, feel free to, again, type into the questions or chat box. Do you know any chefs? Do chefs work really cruisy hours? Do they, do they work 9 to 5 hours? Is it real easy work? No, no way. No way, Matt says. Absolutely not. No, chefs work very, very long hours, crazy hours. It's physically demanding work, antisocial hours. I like that. Long, late nights. Not exactly conducive to meeting Mr. Right, is it? Well, Evelyn found that out, realized that for herself very, very quickly. Had she pursued her dream of becoming a chef, her personal goals would not have been aligned with and supported by her professional goals. That's why I say start with your personal goals, because your professional goals have to support and align with your personal goals. Now, what we did is we went through the fall in love with your job again exercise, and she discovered that the reason that she hated her job was because she didn't like the team. So she requested a transfer for a different team. She stayed in that role for 3 years until she got a job offer for the dream job. Same industry. She didn't become, sorry, same function. She didn't become a chef. She was still, is still an IT project manager, but she went to work for the hospitality industry. And for her, that kind of ticked that box that she thought that she wanted to tick through becoming a chef, because she loves to take care of people. She loves to entertain. So she did that by switching roles and becoming an IT project manager 3 years after working with me, by becoming an IT project manager in the hospitality industry. Then her career just took off within 18 months. And you can see this. This is a email that I got from her on LinkedIn last Christmas, not this past Christmas, but Christmas of 2015. She said that the work that we did 3 years prior, actually 4.5 years prior to that, really propelled her career, and that since taking that new job, she had gotten 3 promotions and gotten married. So your personal goals will always, always supersede your professional goals. Make sure that they are aligned and that your professional goals support your personal goals. The second part of the destination is what I call career values. This is what you value in a job and a career. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how to get an exercise to help you with this. But at the end of the day, what's important is to really think through what is important. What do you have to have in a job? What do you have to have in a career? What would be nice to have? And what don't you want? It's as important to think about what you don't want as what you do want. Now, the nice thing about these career values is that you can then flip them and use the values that you determine are important to you in your job and career as questions to ask in the interview process. So this forms the basis of questions that you ask the interviewer. The third part of the destination is your strengths. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about my definition of the word strengths, because it is a little bit different than what you might be used to. And if you've been with me before, you will know this. So let me ask you a question, and this might be a trick question. Let's say that you're a parent and you have a child that brings this report card home. Which grade deserves the most the most focus? Can't speak today. Too early here in Sydney. Which grade deserves the most focus? Go ahead and type into the questions box. Which grade deserves the most focus? History. Driver's ed? Ah, interesting. Oh, I'm talking to the advanced audience clearly. As expected, there are a variety of answers, but the majority of the answers migrate towards history, towards the D. There are some people that absolutely nail it, which is the B's. Algebra, driver's ed, and what is that? English, sophomore English, I think it is. This is obviously an American report card. Yes, the good ones. Absolutely. Oh, you guys are the advanced class. Strengths conversation. I want to shatter the conventional wisdom that says that you should concentrate on what you don't do well. I want to shatter that wisdom. I want to take it apart, because 60 years of research, yes, 60 years of research says that you will actually be more successful not by doing what we're taught to do, not by overcoming our weaknesses, but by focusing on our strengths. Many of you on this call will probably have heard of the strengths movement or seen the book at the airport, Strengths Finder 2.0. Now, I love strengths profiles, but I find them a little bit lacking in some cases, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But focusing on what you do well and what you love to do, because the true definition of the word strength is not only what you do well, but it's what you also love to do. As the Gallup organization say, will be the number one indicator of success. I had a woman go through my self-paced online course, Light Up Your Career, just recently. She finished it about 6 months ago. She was doing it while she was pregnant with her first child. And I asked her, I had a phone conversation with her the other day, and I asked her, Sam, what did you take away from the course? What was the best thing? Because I kept getting emails from her while she was going through the course giving me all these aha moments. And she would send me pictures of her doing the course with her baby next to the computer after she had the baby. It was really, really cute. And she said, the thing that opened my eyes the most was your definition of strengths and figuring out what it was that I was not only good at, but what it was that I was, that lit me up. And she said that made the most difference of anything in that course. That made the most difference. I've got a question here. Does that mean that I can stop obsessing about developing my public speaking skills? Yes. Isn't this freeing? This was such a great concept for me. Once I took myself off the hook from trying to get better, and you can get better, but trying to be great at stuff that I sucked at, because I was raised in Wisconsin in a good German family where, we were taught that in order to be successful, we had to overcome our weaknesses and we had to be well-rounded individuals. And yeah, I spent my entire life beating myself up over that. And it's just not true. And there's so much evidence to show that you can reach more success if you concentrate on what you do well and what lights you up. So that is the conversation, the destinations components, personal goals, career values, and strengths. Once you determine what those are for you, now it's time to consider the vehicle. Only now should you be asking, what path should I go down? So that brings me to step number 3, why it's important to consider all of your options, even the ones you don't see. And there are a lot of options, I promise you, that you don't see because you've got blinkers on, or are afraid to look at those secret desires, those desires to become a chef. But, do I really want to do that? You absolutely want to shine a light on those desires. And I'll talk about why here in a second. So first of all, let me talk about options. When you are determining the options, the vehicle, the career path that you can go down that will help you best achieve that destination, you want more than 2. You want 3 or more options. One of my favorite personal development gurus, Tony Robbins, says, you've got to have 3 or more, because if you only have 2, those aren't options. It's just a dilemma. You do this or you do that. You want as broad a range of options as you possibly can. So I divide the options that I encourage people that go through this framework. I encourage them to brainstorm at least 3 and as many as 9 different options in 3 different categories. So let me go through these categories now, and I think you'll understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about when I go through them. So all of us have our comfortable or predictable options. These are options that let's say we are I'll go back to my roots as an accountant. I was an auditor. One of my options was to become, at KPMG, an audit manager. That would be the safe, predictable, the linear, traditional climbing the career path option. Or I could have gone, as I did, into industry. So changing from an external auditor to an internal accountant. That would be more of a push the envelope option. So it's not quite a linear trajectory. It's just stepping outside the comfort zone. Or potentially you are in IT. I've got one of my clients on here, my employee engagement clients on here, that is an IT service delivery manager. Potentially he might want to say, I want to try my hand at marketing or at accounting and finance. So staying in the same company, works for a large multinational organization, he could potentially try a different role. That's pushing the envelope a little bit. And then there are those big, hairy, audacious goals, those BHAGs. Now, those are those secret desires that you have to become a chef, to go into, gosh, I've heard it all. I want to join a band. I want to learn to sing. I want to, I had one woman who was a banker who wanted to go into HR. So, and that to her was a big, hairy, audacious goal because it was completely different than what what her linear career track was. I want you to consider all of these options, and I want you to consider them objectively. And I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a second. But remember, I love this saying. In fact, this refrigerator magnet hangs on my refrigerator. And if you've ever seen my refrigerator, my partner says that our refrigerator door is about to fall off from all the refrigerator magnets that hang on it from all the places that we've been. But I also have little sayings, and this is one of my favorite. It's never too late to be what you might have been. Now, if that sparks fear in some people, and I know that it will, because I know some of you have secret desires to start your own business, but you're afraid. Let me tell you, there are more than one way to skin a cat. I'll give you a quick story of somebody that I worked with when I taught this 4-step framework in-house at a company here in Sydney. For those of you who joined us late, I split my time between Sydney, Australia, and the US. I grew up in the US. I've lived a number of different countries in the world, and now I split my time between Sydney, Australia, and the US. But this is a company that I work for in Sydney called Sydney Water. They're the water department, obviously. Now, they brought me in to run this 4-step framework for their group of high potential women. And one of the women, her name is Sally, she determined through this career development course that she wanted to become a personal trainer. She wanted to have her own job being a personal trainer, or her own company being a personal trainer. So at that time, the Sydney Water was offering voluntary redundancy packages, voluntary layoffs, so she could take some cash and walk away. And she was going to do that. She sat down as part of this program. They were to sit down and talk to their manager and have open, honest conversations. And we coached them on how to have the open, honest conversations with their manager. She did that, and her manager was brilliant. Her manager said, Sally, do you think you know everything that you need to know to start your own successful company? And she said, no, I don't. I was planning on using some of the money that I would get from my redundancy package to learn that. He said, how about you learn on the job? You're a very valuable employee. Let's structure a role. In fact, they ended up structuring a 3-year career development program to help her achieve the goals that she wanted to achieve while earning the paycheck from Sydney Water, with the understanding that within 3 years, she'd probably leave to start her own company as a personal trainer. Well, guess what? She's not doing that. She's doing personal training within Sydney Water, from what I understand. This was 5 years ago, and she's still there. Now, you don't necessarily even have to talk to your manager about this. You can just plan out your career so that you are able to achieve the goals that you need to achieve within the confines of your current job. Now, this was the real results from this course. I led 30 people through this course. 3 of them were just major success stories. Sally had redesigned her job to prepare her to become a personal trainer. 2 of the other women, this course gave them the confidence to apply for promotions that they didn't think that they would actually be able to get, and they got them. So real success story there. Really, I'm very, very proud of that. Okay, now it's time to bring it all together. How do we take this and decide what that right vehicle, that right path is? So you want to determine what the next right step for your career actually is. The way that you do that is once you've brainstormed those 3 different categories of options, you want to compare all of those options to the filter. You want to run them through the filter of personal goals, career values, and strengths. You want to look at each of those options individually and identify which of the personal goals that particular option ticks, which of the career values, the must-have and the nice to have, which of those they tick, and which, if there are any career values that are under the do not want category, and then how many of the strengths does that play to? So remember that you want to run every single option individually through all 3 of those components of the destination. Then it will become clear what that next right step for your career actually is. Then it's time to mind the gap. you know where you are now, you've determined where you want to be, then it's a matter of figuring out what skills, abilities, and experience you need to go from point A to point B. Now, there are, again, a few categories around skills, abilities, and experience that you want to look at. So you want to look at technical skills. You also want to look at soft skills, but you want to mind that gap. Okay, this brings us to point number 4. My number one marketing tip to put you ahead of your competition when looking for your next job. Now, this could be an internal promotion or an external promotion. Remember, the most important thing, and write this down, this is critically important. The most important thing is that nobody cares about what you've done. They care about what you have achieved. What you've achieved. How does that play out when marketing yourself? Well, very specifically, it plays out in your resume. So I'm going to give you 2 tips on how to revise your resume that is guaranteed to cut through the noise and help you really give you an unfair advantage over your competition, because it will speak directly to the people reading it. First of all, replace your objective with a value statement. If you have an objective on your resume, I want you to go into your resume as soon as you hang up on this webinar and change that to a value statement. What's a value statement? It's all about the value that you can add to that position. Now, you've got to do some research to figure out, what the position actually entails and what they're looking for. And you want to customize it. The other thing that you want to do is you want to replace your duties and responsibilities with your achievements. Replace your duties and responsibilities with your achievements. Now, an achievement is an end result of something that can be measured. I have had so much success with this type of resume. It is truly astounding. My poster child is probably a gentleman by the name of Leo Sek. I work with Leo, again, right when I started this business. He's an engineer and a very, very talented engineer. It was at the height of what we call in Australia the GFC, what other people call the recession in the United States and in Europe. And there were obviously more candidates than there were jobs. Now, Leo knew that he was very qualified for the roles that he was applying for, but he wasn't even getting an acknowledgement that he was sending his resume. He revised his resume using my resume template, and after months of not even getting a call back, he got 3 in one afternoon. So this stuff works. I guarantee it. If you want to set yourself above the crowd, replace your objective with a value statement and replace those duties and responsibilities with achievements. Okay, getting to the pointy end now, I want to share with you a Jedi mindset trick to help you stay positive and focused. This is really, really important, because as you start to make some incredibly tough decisions, you want to stay focused, stay positive, especially when you start to apply for roles. You want to make sure that you put your best foot forward and you interview well. And the only way to do that is by staying positive. And I'm going to give you a kind of a sad story, actually, of a gentleman that I worked for in as a client when I was in Auckland. His name is Craig, and I won't give you the industry that he was in case somebody is on the phone that might know him. But I'll call him Cocky Craig, because he was really a very... he knew that he was good at his role, let's put it that way. And he decided that he never actually needed a resume. He was poached to go from job to job to job. And when he was making those moves, he really didn't have to try so hard. Well, then the GFC hit and he was laid off. And unfortunately, he just didn't know how to recover from that. So it took him 2 years to find another job. The job that he found was soul destroying for him. And unfortunately, he ended up in a role that did not suit him. 10 years on, he's still struggling to find his niche in life. So you really want to maintain resilience through this. It's incredibly important to keep your ability to spring back from setbacks, to not get stuck. This is another phrase that I just love, another saying that I just love. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're absolutely right. So my Jedi mindset trick to keep you positive and focused through this is what I call an I rock file. Now, an iRock file is a physical file folder that is designed to help you remember that you do indeed rock. So, when you're going through a job change or a career change, or when you have adversity, even personal adversity in your life, you need to remember that you are valued and even that you're loved. So this is an exercise that I've used with so many of my clients when they're going through a hard time. Put a physical file folder together of all the cards, emails, performance reviews, etc., that tell you you rock. You are absolutely great at what you do. If you don't have that physical evidence, sit down and write up any memories of verbal feedback telling you that you did a good job or that you're loved, and then review that every single day. Really important to keep your attitude in a positive attitude going through this very tough time. Okay, so why did you show up today? Maybe you want to rediscover your joy at work and live out your passion, realize your purpose. Maybe you're frustrated with your current job and you want the tools to help make the right decision to move forward. Maybe you want to make sure that your professional goals don't overshadow your personal goals, or maybe you feel stuck and you want to regain control. So the obvious question is, how do you put this all together? How do you put this plan all together? Well, I've given you the framework to be able to do that. First of all, create the destination, your personal goals, your job values, your job and career values, your strengths. Brainstorm options in the safe options, the pushing the envelope options, and the big, hairy, audacious goals. Make sure that you filter those options through those three things that you have determined are your destination to come up with the next right career path. And then choose that career path, mind the gap. What skills, abilities, and experience do you need to achieve your goals? Keep yourself in a positive direction. Now, as I said, this is a DIY project. Your career is a DIY project, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself. You can. I've given you the structure, but it could be complicated and confusing if you try and do it by yourself, just on your own, because you can't see the forest for the trees. Many people get stuck on your personal goals. There are so many people who have a fear of failure, or worse, a fear of success, actually, that they just absolutely get stuck. And so they can't even think about what they want to achieve personally. Sometimes you need a little nudge. Sometimes you need some structured remedies to help you overcome those challenges. Maybe you could have trouble brainstorming your options. You've got those blinkers on and you can't see the forest for the trees. So you need some help unleashing those blinkers and looking at all three of those categories. Maybe you're not sure what your strengths really are. And I know this to be a fact, especially the women on the line. I have to say, we don't do a great job of backing ourselves, of selling ourselves effectively. Or you may not know how to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. So as you know, I'm all about options. So that's the DIY option. I've given you enough information that you can do this yourself. But it always helps to have support. Now, friends and family can help you, but they may be a little bit biased and they may not be able to see the forest for the trees as well. You could certainly hire a professional career coach. There are a number of professional career coaches out there that are really good. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore, in part because it can be very expensive. But as you know, I'm all about two options being a dilemma. You want to have three or more options. So I want to offer you a third option, which is to join me on my Light Up Your Career online self-paced training. Now, this training is the same training that my client Samantha, who said that her biggest aha, she was the one who emailed me regularly while she was having aha moments going through this course. This is the very same course that she did. What this does is it's 3.5 hours of video training, me leading you through 29 exercises to really expand upon the framework that I just talked about. So it's online. It's self-paced, and it will really help you get clear on both your professional goals, your personal goals, how to support and align your personal goals with your professional goals, your career values. It will help you create specific action plan and specific goals to help you achieve everything. And you can use it on any type of platform. It works on a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, a Surface Pro, a phone, and hang on, I just realized I'm using an old slide deck here. That's okay. Let me skip through the next couple slides here. So what you will get in this online career development program, it's almost 4 hours actually, of interactive video leading you step by step through 29 different exercises. It will lead you through. Now, you will be getting this exercise, the Fall in Love with Your Job Again exercise. You will be getting this exercise, but I'll be leading you through the video training on this exercise. It will help you not only write down your personal goals, but overcome any blockages that you have to setting your personal goals. I've got 3 remedies that I teach in the personal goal setting module. It will help you understand what your career values are. I've got a deck of 52 playing cards, which is kind of fun. Strengths and weaknesses. We've got, I think, 6 or 7 exercises in the strengths and weaknesses area alone. Will help you understand what your strengths truly are, those activities that you love to do and that you're good at versus those weaknesses. And it will help you with strategies on how to leverage your strengths and how to manage or mitigate your weaknesses. Your options, it'll help you brainstorm those 3 categories of options: skills, abilities, and experience to mine that gap. It will give you 4 additional tools on how to market yourself, or 4 tools in general. We'll walk you through how to create a value statement, how to change your duties and responsibilities into achievements, and 3 additional tools on how to help you condition resilience. There are 8 modules in this online training, and I'm going to very quickly go through all 8 of them. First of all, there's an introduction and an overview. In the introduction and the overview, now this is something that's really cool. I'm really proud of this actually. It's kind of a choose your own adventure experience because it's custom built for where you are. The introduction and the overview asks you a series of questions to get a little bit of information about where you are in your career. Are you just starting off? Are you in the middle of your career? Are you a career veteran? And depending on what you select, it will take you into a different piece of content. So I start with the introduction and the overview, get some information about where you are in your career to tailor your own adventure. The second module is career myths and loving your job again. Now, again, you're going to get this as a bonus just for being on this webinar, but this training program will lead you through how to ask yourself these questions and how to put together a specific action plan to remedy those frustrations, to fall in love or at least like your job again. Module 3 is your personal goals. Your personal goals, how to overcome the resistance, how to overcome the challenges. I've got 3 remedies to help you get into the frame of mind where you can set some really strong personal goals. Module number 4, that's that deck of 52 playing cards. It will help you determine what is critical for you to have in your job and your career, what you must have, what would be nice to have in that job or career, and even more importantly, what you don't want in your job or career. And again, you can take these values and turn them on their head, and you can make sure that you ask the right questions in the interview process. Because how many of us have gone into a job thinking that it was one thing, but not having done a thorough job of vetting that and finding out that it was actually something else? This exercise can help you make sure that that doesn't happen. Strengths and weaknesses. This is one of the largest modules in the entire program. Not only strengths profiles, and if you've done strengths profiles, they're great and they give you some great information. But not only does the work that I do in strengths, which is a combination of the Gallup organization, the CAP organization out of the UK, we've got several people on the line from the UK, and the Marcus Buckingham, who came out of the Gallup organization. I take my own experience and I boil it down to what you do on a day-to-day basis, because the strengths themes are great information, but really at the end of the day, your strengths boil down to what you do in your job. So I want to help you get really clear about the day-to-day activities and how you spend your time and which are really strengths versus maybe learned behaviors or weaknesses. And I will help you devise strategies to leverage your strengths and to manage or mitigate your weaknesses. Then I've got your options, how to brainstorm those 3 different categories, your comfortable options, your pushing the envelope options, and those big, hairy, audacious goals. And this is one of my favorite pieces of the program because, when I led people through this on a live basis, it was always a little bit complicated and a little bit clunky to take all of the options that you have brainstormed and to compare them to your personal goals, to your career values, and to your strengths. Well, I was able to devise a semi-automated, I won't say that it's fully automated, but it's highly automated way of helping you evaluate those goals. So it pre-populates the strengths that you put in, the values that you put in, your personal goals, and your options that you brainstorm. And then you just rate them 0 to +3 or 0 to -3 in terms of how well you think each individual option accomplishes those. And it gives you a numerical value so you can easily see which is the right opportunity. And it's not just a pros cons list. It actually takes that emotional charge. How excited are you about that value? How excited are you about that goal? So it takes both logic and emotion and it puts it into an objective exercise. I worked with a professional instructional design team to do that, and I'm really, really proud of it. Now, in addition, there is a module on marketing yourself. So I will lead you through how to create those achievements, how to write really robust achievements. I'll lead you through your value statement, how to change that objective into a value statement, and help you identify questions to ask during the interview process. And then, of course, conditioning resilience, so important. And this is where I help you with mind control. No, I'm not going to control your mind. I'm going to help you control your mind. And I've got several exercises, the IROC file, which I taught at during this webinar, but also the 3 additional exercises. So here's what you'll create at the end of this training program. You will have a 3 to 5 year career plan with specific actions to help you make confident decisions about what the next right path to take is, how to achieve your personal and professional goals, how to mind that gap, how to provide well for your family, how to make sure that your family is taken care of as well because you're on the right path. Also, it will, and this is what my clients tell me, it will give you a sense of purpose. You'll feel more relaxed, you'll feel less stressed and more fulfilled because you're achieving exactly what you want from life. Now, in addition to this training, if you sign up for this training on this webinar, I've got several bonuses for you. First of all, I just re-recorded, and in fact, Claude, you're on the call now. I did this training for Vivid Wireless. One of my outplacement clients is on this call, and I did this training for Vivid Wireless, and I actually re-recorded this yesterday for individuals specifically on this webinar to help prepare them for an interview. So it's a 10-step preparation process. And I have to say, I was really proud of the work that we did those few years ago. And it worked really, really well for this additional training. I knew that this was a bonus that I wanted to give because so many people just get freaked out by the interview process. So I wanted to make sure that that was my #1 bonus. And I'm really excited about how that turned out. So free of charge, you'll get this video training and you will get a turnkey resume template to help you turn that job objective into a value statement, to help you write your achievements instead of duties and responsibilities. It will take you step by step how to write a killer resume. You can use your own format, but it's a series of do's and don'ts, what you want to have on your resume, and more importantly, what you don't want to have on your resume. So for being on this webinar, I'm also giving you a 20% discount off of the regular price. And just for the people who register on the webinar, so during the question and answer period, I'm going to open it up for questions in about 2 minutes. Just for, Claude says, yay, branding plug. Okay, some questions are starting to come in. I will get to them in about 2 minutes, I promise you. The resume review. I will, if you sign up for this by the end of the question and answer period, I will personally review your resume. Now remember, I have reviewed if I've interviewed over 5,000 candidates, I've probably reviewed about 50,000. I know what helps your resume really cut through and will help you not only get interviews, but nail the job that you really want. I've got some very, very unique thoughts about how to create a resume, and I will review it for you personally. Okay, and this is the same template that Leo used to get the 3 resumes, the 3 callbacks in one afternoon. Okay, so the total value of this is $2,562, but it's only an investment for you of $375. Now here's the link, 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast. And I'm going to type it into your chat box here. So you get that again, 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast. Okay, so it's a one-time payment of $375, or there's also a 3 monthly payments of $125. It's not on the slide deck because this is the previous version. One of the reasons that I wasn't a good accountant was detail wasn't my thing, and I should have checked my slide deck before starting this webinar. There weren't many changes, but there were a few. 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast. There's a 30-day, 100% risk-free guarantee. I've had numerous people go through this. Well, I've had hundreds of people follow this 4-step framework. Numerous people go through this framework online. It works. I can put my hand on my heart. But if you have any issues at all, no questions asked, I'll refund your money. So the total value again is $2,500, $2,562. That includes retail price for this program. When I do this program in companies, it's usually about $1,999, almost $2,000 per person. The bonus, the interview secrets preparation bonus, that has a value of $249. The resume template has a value of $39, and my resume review has a value of $275. So that's $2,562 all up. But for you, one-time payment of $375 or 3 monthly payments of $125. And if you have any questions or need help ordering, email me at info@igniteglobal.com. Now, if you are somebody who has struggled in the past with really having the confidence and certainty to make the decisions that you need to make, if you find yourself going through those revolving doors, if you are somebody who has ended up on a plateau or, God forbid, a dead end, stop the insanity. Remember, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. So this is an opportunity for a very high value, low cost program to help you get clarity and certainty and put together an action plan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 15 minutes, there's a timer that's going to be occurring. I'm going to take questions, any questions about anything that I've covered today, anything around career development, branding, resumes, interviewing, you ask it, you name it, you ask it, and we'll take questions throughout the while the timer is counting down to 0, and you can sign up for the webinar anytime, and as long as you do so by the end of the questions period, you will get me to review your resume. Sorry, it's / not /. So it's 4steps.igniteglobal.com / fast. Okay. Oh, somebody says, I'm going to share this. I'm not going to say who it is from, though. Somebody says, the universe has made this course available to me just when I really needed it. And oh, by the way, I'm a scientist and not a hippie. and I do know this person, and I know that to be true. Yes, it is $375 US. I wanted to make it ubiquitous for the entire audience, so it's $375 US. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Already signed up. Great. Okay, so first question. I'm in my mid-50s. Will this help me looking toward, oh, so glad you asked that. So one of the participants says, and I will keep your questions confidential, by the way. I'm in my mid-50s, and will this help me looking towards slowing down in retirement, but still wanting to work to be useful? Yes, 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 yes. And the reason why I say this is, and those of you who know me that are on this webinar, you know that I talk about this a lot, primarily when I talk about employers keeping us baby boomers, because I'm in my mid-50s too. I'm 56 in July, although I find that absolutely unbelievable, but I am. And so many of us are living longer. As an aside, I saw David Attenborough live last night. He's 91 years old and he's still working. I want to be as fulfilled as I am now when I'm 91. So the short answer is yes, because it helps you identify what those personal goals are and how to create professional goals that will support and align those personal goals. Now, you are somebody whose priorities have definitely changed. You're not wanting to, trust me, I know, you're not wanting to work as hard or as long hours or maybe have as much responsibility as you did in the past. And so, yes, it will definitely help you. Another question, is this program available offline? I travel quite a bit and it would be great to use the time in flight to go to work on me. Ooh, unfortunately, it's not, I don't think. I tell you what, I will. My business manager happens to be one of the participants on the call today. Not that she's thinking about changing jobs, God forbid, but I will, Anna, if you could ask there's a company who hosts this program. I don't think it is, but we will find out for sure and come back to you because all of these questions are being recorded. I know that it will, that I can find this again. Okay. What other questions do you have about your job, your career? Let me go back. Oh, I love this. Yes. One of the participants says that her dad has one of the quotes printed and taped to his computer. He's 83. He still has dreams. Absolutely. You know, I was called by a speakers bureau recently to present to a group in Singapore. And it's a group of people, of talent managers and talent procurement people. So this would be HR directors and recruiters who are responsible for helping Asian companies staff up. Now, as bad as it is self-paced, yes. As bad as the critical skill shortages here in Australia and in the United States, it's even worse in Asia. And in Asia, they're talking about the 100-year work lifespan. They're talking about people within the younger generation's lifetime of working up until and through the age 100. And this is something that, again, I'm really passionate about. So yes, it will help regardless of what stage you are on. Okay, is this self-paced? Yes, it is self-paced. You can go into and out of the modules as you have time. The modules themselves typically are about, I think the longest one is 15 minutes in length. The longest time that you'll see my smiling face talking to the green screen. It is live video. It is not a webinar. It is live video of me talking to the green screen, just like you saw in the screen captures, leading you through these 29 different exercises in a downloadable workbook. The workbook is not stored anywhere. Nobody can see your answers. And so, yes, you can go through it on your own time. Okay. All right. Oh, interesting. I've got a question about interview skills. I know that this is one of the bonuses that you offer. Along with the course, yes, indeed it is. It's a 17-minute, I believe. I just recorded it and uploaded it last night because I wanted to refresh the old one that I had. 17-minute video on preparing for an interview. He said, I know that you've included this. Can't wait to get started on it, but could you give me your number one tip? Absolutely. I will give you my number one tip on preparing for an interview as a candidate as well as a hiring manager, because I know a lot of you manage staff. That is preparation. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that's why the training is outlined the way it is. The way that I did this interview skills training is by going through the 10-step preparation process that you as a candidate applying for a role, interviewing for a role, can take yourself through to make sure that you absolutely nail the interview. And I call it interview secrets from a professional recruiter because, as you can imagine, I've interviewed over 5,000 people. I've made thousands of placements. When I was a recruiter, I have prepped. I have no idea how many people I've actually prepped for interviews. Not only that, I've debriefed hiring managers on how interviews went well and how they went poorly. And that is in this 15-minute training or 17-minute training, interview preparation secrets. So that's my number one tip. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Okay. Excellent. What other questions do you have? Resumes. I always get these questions on resumes. How long should it be? Honestly, that depends on what area of the world you live in. In the United States, it's, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong. You do much more work in the US than I do. Correct me if I'm wrong here. In the United States, it's still highly encouraged to have only one page resume, max 2 pages. Yep. Okay. Yep. Max 2 pages if you're a really senior level person. In Australia, we actually, since I've lived in Australia over the last 9 years, I've lost track. 8 years. Since I've lived in Australia, no, 9 years. Anyway, however long I've lived here, I have noticed that resumes, the best practice for resumes has come down, especially through the GFC, through the downturn. People are wanting to see more impactful resumes and fewer pages. I would say that less is always more. You can be very impactful with just a few pages. So I would say shoot for max 2 pages. But again, the most important thing is to create a value statement instead of an objective, and to make sure that you have achievements instead of duties and responsibilities. Okay, next question. A question on branding. What's your top tip for branding yourself? Well, honestly, your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile should really mirror your resume. And again, use that summary page to have your value statement, that summary section in your LinkedIn profile. You can put your value statement on that. And then instead of duties and responsibilities, put a position purpose and your achievements in your actual individual job roles. So that would be the best place to be branded. There are some people that actually use their LinkedIn profile as their resume. LinkedIn wants you to use your LinkedIn profile as their resume, as your resume, and it's gone pretty good, I have to say. However, still have a resume backup, because there are some hiring managers that want to see a good old-fashioned resume. The other tip that I can give you in terms of making sure that your application cuts through is to, when you apply for a role, include a link to a 30 to 90 second audio or video that will portray your value statement and specifically connect that value that you add to the role that you're hiring for. Okay. What are your tips to help people identify their destination? Okay, so you must have come onto the webinar a little bit late. Your destination consists of three things: your personal goals, so where, what you want to do in your life, not only in your career, but in your life, your career values, what's important to you in your job or career, and your strengths and weaknesses. Once you determine that, that will help you form a picture of your destination. Okay, so we've got about a little over 3 minutes left. What other questions can I answer for you? Any questions about the Light Up Your Career program yourself? And remember, it's 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast in the chat box for you guys. What other questions can I answer for you? Yeah. Should I send my resume via email or snail mail? Yeah, that's an interesting one. The truth is, I don't know. When I'm looking at ways to market my own business, I use some snail mail because snail mail gets opened in this digitally connected world. And so that's an interesting question. You might actually want to try and send your resume via snail mail to the hiring manager themselves. I wouldn't send it to HR, but send it to the hiring manager. By the way, if you can at all get the name of the hiring manager, apply directly to the hiring manager and not through to HR. HR's job is to say no, because they need to make their jobs as easy as possible. So you want to go directly to the hiring manager if you can. Is there an expiration date on the program for registrants? Right. I'm not. Oh, yes. The license is valid for a year. I think that's what you're asking. The license is valid for a year. And I've had this program up for about 3 years now. I actually, believe it or not, I developed this program for a very large company here in Australia, which there are a few Aussies. I developed it for the NBN. The NBN actually had me fly to Las Vegas and use a professional training video company to develop this program to roll out to their employees. And my agreement was they would pay for the production of it and I would get to on-sell it to my clients. So this was originally purchased for a company to use in-house. So if that's something that's of interest to you as well, I can give you some pricing for multiple licenses. There's a bit of a discount even off the $375 for multiple licenses. Excellent. Yes, that was exactly what she was asking. Okay, guys, we've got 43 seconds left. Are there any last minute burning questions? Really excited to have you guys on the webinar. This is the first thing that I've done on career management in years. Like I said, most of my time is on employee engagement and retention and helping hiring managers hire better people. And I've been in the organizational space for so long, but every once in a while, I love to get back to my roots because this is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about helping you realize your potential, find your passion, reach your personal and your professional goals. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Feel free to email me, info@igniteglobal.com, if you have any questions at all. And ladies and gentlemen, time is up. Thank you very much.